G'day guys, Ricky from Centre Life Adventure, and I am standing on a massive Malachite. When I set out this morning, I had three intentions. One, to potentially harvest some venison, because every time I go looking for historic sites or go prospecting, I come across game trails and regularly get honked at, and I'm well equipped for that if I do come across a deer. I'm being a little bit noisy now, so there's probably no chance. I wanted to find historic sites, which I've now stumbled across one, and I wanted to potentially go prospecting. All this in front of us here is an early 1900s Malachite, and what I was looking for was a shaft that I knew of that dropped down 60 metres. And after walking around the bush a few hours, I believe I found it. So I actually come looking for this site a few weeks ago, and I didn't come far enough down the hill, as it turns out. And even this morning, I spent a lot of time scouring the bush from left to right behind me, going from one gully to another, because I was under the impression that this shaft may well have actually been closed over from a falling tree. However, after a couple of hours, I did manage to stumble across it. And not to let the internet down, I better do the old rock test. That would be a big rock. Let's see if it makes noise all the way down. Okay, stop rumbling now. So it doesn't go directly down by the sounds of that. It's sort of rolled along part of it, but that was a lot of movement. That's a long way down. This mine was worked in 1904 until 1908, and then reworked again from 1918, and I'm not sure how long it was worked from there. So this is obviously a shaft from up above, but there is an adit further down, and even an inclined tramway that leads to a battery site. So cameras never really pick up on this stuff overly great, but up here, just above my fingernail there, that's the amount of dirt on the very edge of that shaft. So the shaft's in between the tree and that mound of dirt, and all this dirt in front of me here is unnatural. This is stuff that's came out of the shaft, and it goes a significant way down the hill here. There's a lot of unnatural dirt here. All this shaly rock and everything, that's all stuff that's been pulled out of the shaft. Outside of being approximately 60 metres deep, I actually don't know too much about that shaft. My assumption is that it was potentially following quartz reef, but there is an adit that enters a mining complex a bit further down the hill, which is what I'm going to go looking for right now. Something over here that looks a little bit suspicious. Not sure if you'll be able to see it yet. Just in over here, it's a bit of a dig out of some description. Okay, it's another shaft, a ventilation shaft or something, I assume. Rock. Let's do the old rock test again. Okay, goes down a bit. Don't have any torches on me, so we can't really go looking down much, and I'm not going to go climbing down to find out. So there's that shaft I just found. The other one that I first filmed, the bigger one, is up over in this direction. I followed the Malachite around and stumbled across that. So I've had a little bit of a look at a mud map that I have about the area, and as far as I can tell, this one's not marked on it. But there's another one further down, but somewhere through the gully here is the adit that I'm looking for. However, the incline tramway is further around this way. So I'll go for a bit of an explore and see what I can find. As you can see, it's pretty hard to see anything. You've got to be right on it to find it. So I followed the contour of the hill around looking for the potential adit, and I believe I've put myself off direction a little bit, so I'm going to head back. But look how stunning it is in here. The bush is just getting so thick it'd be very hard to get through. But I cannot complain about the views I've got to deal with today. So I come down and around from up there. So I'm actually going to head back into the clearing and back down the hill a little bit. If I was off direction, that's where I want to go. Things just took a really cool turn. I've come from back here where I was just filming and walked down the track here to what looked like a tramway. I thought, okay, I'm walking onto a tramway, that's going to lead me somewhere. I'm standing on it now. Of course, cameras lie. Actually, you can sort of see it. It drops off over the edge here. But then I started looking out at this. And I thought, that's a lot of dirt, a lot of mullock. And it goes right down into the gully here. If you try to understand how steep this gully is, that's a lot of dirt to be able to fill up a mound like that. So all of a sudden I thought, I have to be near that adit that I'm looking for. So I walk up a little bit further. Yeah, the area flattens right out. Ferns are usually a bit of a giveaway that there might be some moisture around. There's that malachite. You sort of understand, like it goes right down the hill over here. It goes down a long way. And I saw this before I actually saw the adit. I will say that this was a caretaker's cottage, or the mine manager, should I say. Look at this. Visible quartz in the rock. Not that that's uncommon, but anyway, this is what you're waiting for. Sunlight's in the worst possible spot. And here's the adit. I won't go in. There is an awesome breeze coming out of that, so I know it's got airflow. But I do not have a gas meter and I do not want to put my life on the line. How's that for lucky? I've actually got better reception here than what I do at my own house. So I was able to do a little bit of mine side research. This mine behind me produced a little bit over 1,650 ounces of gold out of a bit over 1,650 tonnes of ore. So it is an impressive mine complex. I just had a quick look through my bag. I have a torch. Didn't realise I had one. I'm still not going to go in, but let's have a look, shall we? It looks like this area here may have been some kind of backfill maybe, or it's hard to tell. But I will say the shaft itself goes around to, the mine itself goes around to the left and continues into a much bigger complex. Like I said, there's a good airflow coming out of here, but I don't have the appropriate ways of monitoring the air, so I'll just enjoy this from here. So I've just come up the hill from the other side over here. Quite a steep climb to get where I am, and if I was reading my mud map right, I should have come across a stone can, but I haven't, which leads me to think that those shafts and that mine I came across were not the ones I thought they were. They're a little bit further down the hill. I found this on as I was walking along, an old sawn plank board with a square nail in it, which means it would have been hand forged. So that's periodic to the era that the mining activity was happening here. So if I'm not mistaken, a bit further down the ridge here, I should come across a brake wheel to the incline tramway, which means up the hill here where I have been, those two shafts that I showed you are not the super deep ones that I was looking for, and that adit is not the one that I thought it was. Fascinating. Okay, something really cool's just happened. I've been up on the ridge behind me here, and I came down after looking at the mud map again thinking, I'm pretty sure I did get that wrong. And then, I'm not sure if you can really tell behind me, but I come across a little flattened area, and without a doubt, I knew that that was a tramway. Looking forward, it's pretty easy to tell. You can actually see the old tramway. And you look down, you can actually see part of the rail network for it. A little bit more up here. So the long and the short of it, I had my bearings wrong. I read the mud map wrong, that those shafts, the two shafts and the adit that I saw, are part of another mine further down the hill. So when I was actually higher up in the hill, tracking back and forth, I did actually miss the adit and shaft I came looking for. So when I was carrying on about that shaft being 60 metres, I'm wrong. But I did hear that that one might actually be closed over by a fallen tree. However, just down here, this is part of a brake wheel for an inclined tramway to get to the battery site further down. And this tramway and this brake drum, inclined tramway, would have serviced the actual mine that I was looking for. So this brake wheel that serviced this inclined tramway was built in 1918, and it followed a path down here. There's a lot more to see down here. However, it's getting a little bit later in the day, so I think I'm going to have to pull back. So this might be part one of a two-part video series, I think. Just amazing to see what they were working in back in the day, though. I'm heading out back for a few reasons. One, it's getting a little bit later in day and I've still got to climb back up out of the hill to get out of here. You can see the incline tramway here. I've decided I'll follow that back from the break and see where it actually goes. You still see how steep this terrain is if I don't move the phone too quick. Plenty of areas where there's lots of scrub in the way, but I've come to this spot here. And it looks to me like a plausible collapsed adit. You see the hill would have normally come across here, but it's been dug out through there, and it really, to me, it does look like that would have been an adit down here, and the ground's just collapsed from above and come down. There's a little hand stacked wall here as well. More of an indication that this was something, but I don't know what. And that being the case, I'm a bit confused as to what I've actually found today. I think I found extra on top of the stuff that's marked on the mud map that I've got. So a lot more homework has to go into this. I've come to what I believe is the end of the tramway that headed to the incline tramway. This is all mullock. I'm standing on a massive mullock heap here, and looking at my waypoints where I've been mapping my GPS. Up the hill here is that mine that adit that I come across that appeared to have the mine manager's hut site at the front of it. So I'm wondering if the ore was pushed down to this level before being worked. However, it's the mine further along that I believe that this tramway was actually built for. So still a lot of mystery here. This is going to be a very confusing video. Definitely going to have to be a part 2. And the easiest way for me out now is to climb. I'm not sure if you can see, but I've got to get to the top of that hill through this. This is unreal. I've got so much more than I bargained for today. I'm hiking myself up through this tempered little rainforest bit to get from the tramway that I was walking on up to the adit up above, so that way it's an easier walk back to the car. The big mullock heap I was standing on a moment goes way down behind me there, but I noticed something from where I was walking, well, climbing. I was climbing through the scrub up here, up the hill, and I noticed a little flat area, so I had a look. So I was climbing up here, and this area looked flat, and then as I came over, discovered yet another shaft, and that's definitely not on any map that I've seen. It goes down a reasonable way. So this is fascinating. I found way more than I bargained for today, more questions than answers. This isn't the easiest terrain I've ever had to push through. It's probably not the worst either. But after finding that little mine shaft just off the side, I better be very careful with where I put my feet. theoretically, distance-wise, I'm pretty certain I'm only about 100 or 200 metres away from where I want to be. The problem is, of course, it's darn steep, darn thick, and darn slippery. So it's going to take me a while. Anyway, I'll get there. Look at the size of old mate here. It's a bloody big old tree. I've hiked in from way down the hill beneath it. Well, that's it for part one of what is no doubt going to be a two-part video now. I didn't even come close to exploring the amount of area that I wanted to, but oh geez, that terrain. Once I actually got into the real thick stuff and started going straight up the edge of gullies and stuff, it was intense. I'm a reasonably fit person, but that tested me. I ended up running out of charge part way up, so I didn't get to film the rest of it. I made it back to my car, obviously. I've come down a little bit further down the track. Where I want to go next time is directly behind me. There's an old battery site and the other end of that incline tramway that I filmed, and all sorts of interesting stuff. So hopefully this has intrigued you enough to bring you along to watch the second part. I hope you enjoyed.